Okay, I am beyond excited about the engagement that I have received on this. And you don't even have to talk about it on my post. If you want to go straight to Rainn Wilson on Twitter and have this conversation, or any of the other people that have shared it or wherever it's going on, I just think this is an important conversation for us to have in the world. So Mr. Rainn Wilson, if you don't know who that is, Rainn Wilson is Dwight Schrute from The Office. Now, that's not all he's ever done. In the vein of what we're going to be talking about today, he actually has, yeah, I know you have thoughts. I read your thoughts, and I'm so grateful for your thoughts. I think, or not I think, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. So another thing he does is he has a website, and I believe it's a podcast and some other things, that called Soul Pancake. Now, I put kind of Rainn Wilson and Oprah Winfrey kind of in the same boat, where I wouldn't label them as Christians by any stretch of the imagination, nor would I try to place that label on them or anything like that. But they are thinking spiritually about the world that we live in, okay? About the things that are happening. And both of them believe that spirituality plays a key role, an imperative role in our daily lives. And so for that, I am very grateful. I mean, over the moon grateful for that. I also think that they missed the mark in a lot of areas. But I'm not here to critique any of that stuff. I'm just saying, like, when you read something like this, you're like, oh, is Dwight Schrute a Christian? No. Rainn Wilson is not a Christian, but he does constantly think spiritually about things. And because of that pretty wide stretch of spirituality that he deals in on a daily basis, he is able to see Christianity, recognize it and its importance in the world. Okay, that's important. And also look at it and say, man, there really actually is a kind of cultural bias. So, yeah, kid president. Okay, so Saint Bear, I've always loved the language of the LTN language of we believe God loves nerds and we want to prove it. Absolutely. That's our whole thing. Hey man, we want to tell you Jesus loves you, and then we're going to do the hard work of proving it. So you've probably got to read it while I was talking, but this is what he said. He said, I do think that there is an anti-Christian bias in Hollywood. As soon as the David character in The Last of Us started reading the Bible, I knew that he was going to be a horrific villain. Could there be a Bible reading preacher on a show who is actually loving and kind? ? So that sparked a conversation. And what I wanted to share about that was, hey, this is the start of a really great conversation on both sides. Christians have earned some of the flack that we get, while there is simultaneously a movement to change the paradigm and fix systemic issues that skew the world's view of us. Very excited and glad that this conversation is in the limelight. Anyone have any thoughts on this? You will, if you go through and look at all the comments and all that stuff on here, some really great stuff. Really, really, really great stuff in here. Someone's typing right now. I am not engaging in this thread. And it's not because I just want to drop the mic or the bomb or whatever and walk away. Like this last line right here, I'm hoping to have more posts just like this in the future. It's kind of a goal of mine. How can we start a conversation? How can we get something moving in the right direction so that you guys, everybody else, can talk about it? Not to be like, here are my thoughts. Here's Love Thy Nerd's official position. Nah. I don't want to do that. Stuff like that really squelches the conversation. And so what I want to do is I want to start the conversation by thinking in the direction that we think all the time at Love Thy Nerd. Okay, so if you want an official position, here's where it is. The church is widely known for the things that divide us and not unite us. The things that we want to be known for, we're not. We're known for the things that we hate, that we boycott, that we stand against, All those things. Not the things that we love, the things that we cherish, the things that unite us, the things that we think make the world a better place. We're known for all the other things, all the negative stuff. And when we see it played out on the screen, small or large, we actually shouldn't be surprised about any of that stuff. And so that's why I said that, hey, I start right here. Christians have earned some of the flack that we get, while simultaneously there is a movement to change that paradigm and fix the systemic issues that skew the world's view of us. So for me, I think that that's super important. I understand the problem. I at the very least recognize the problem, right? Like, hey, I talked about the Crusades earlier. There's a lot of stuff going on with the Southern Baptist Convention these days. Very specific, very narrow. There's a lot of things that are happening in the United Methodist Church, ongoing. Like, there are things that we have earned as people in this world, as Christians, as image bearers of God, because of the way that we conduct ourselves. We've earned it. So it should be of like no, absolutely. Hey Jamie, thanks for commenting on that. It should be of like no surprise to us when we see art imitating life. Now, I'm all caught up. I watched all the way through. Stayed up late last night to even watch the season finale. In as much as it pertains to this episode, okay, second to last episode of Last of Us for season 1. The David character is a very plausible character. Very plausible character. I would go so far as to say, I think he's actually a pretty toned down version of people that exist like right now in time and space. I really truly believe that. And I think that we have to be careful so as not to perpetuate that. My grandma telling me, hey, let me tell you all the things that I know about Christian leaders and CEOs. I roll my eyes. But she's not wrong. She's not wrong. And so the thing that we have to do as Christians is to find, and if you're not a Christian, please enjoy this peek behind the curtain. I hope that you feel comfortable here, trying to be as vulnerable and transparent as I possibly can. We are supposed to live holy and pure lives. That's what we're supposed to do. We don't, because we're flawed human beings. When we fail, do we just continue to fail? Do we continue to fail so that we can receive the grace from God? Paul says it this way. It says, should we continue in sin that grace may abound? Absolutely not. So we don't continue living lives of sin just because, oh, well, God's going to forgive us. We don't do that. But another thing that we don't do is we don't fake it. We do not fake it. In the New Testament, there's a guy named Stephen. He's one of the disciples, right? And Stephen has just the power from God, right? Like he has those initial Holy Spirit moments. And there was a sorcerer that was following him around that just wanted the power that he had. He recognized the power that they had. And he was like, man, how do I get it? How do I get it? I just want that power. And he never was able to receive that because all he wanted was the power. If he had gotten it, he would have used it for nefarious purposes. And everybody knew that. It's not about seeking out the power. It's not what it's about. But when people wield it like that, David, Book of Eli, those kinds of spaces, when people wield the power of God or seek the power of God in order to wield it, that's when it gets really weird and really hairy. And those are not, like I said, those aren't just like exclusive to dystopian futures. Okay, those aren't just post-apocalyptic dreams. That's happening today. I met Peter. Thank you so much. I say a lot of words a lot of time. But yes, so there was, man, I'll have to go back and look it up just so I give you guys the actual reference for it. But there was somebody who just wanted that power, and we can't do that. At the very least, we shouldn't, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it doesn't happen. If I were to tell you that, that would be me lying to you straight to your face, live over the internet. And I won't do that. There are Christian cults out there, period. End of story, full stop. That doesn't mean they believe the same things that we believe about Jesus. What it does mean is that they wield the name of Jesus in order to do some of the most horrific things that have ever been done in history. They use it to lord over people. They use it to keep people suppressed. And when people try to figure things out, there's so many documentaries on Hulu and Amazon and Netflix that you can go and just see this happening almost in real time. When people use the power that they have as a foothold or a thumb to keep people down, it's gross. It's absolutely gross, and we need to talk about that. And so, when we have a character like Ellie in The Last of Us that comes in and challenges a character like David, sees straight through the BS that he has. I think that there were other people in that story, and I'm not spoiling anything, but I think that there were other people in that story, that particular episode, part of his flock, as it were, that knew exactly what was going on. Exactly. But they were too afraid to do anything about it. Fear is a crippling motive for not doing anything. Crippling. SavePoint says, I recognize that the American church is more often publicly negative than positive, but people also actively ignore the good that Christians do. Patrick says, why is that? It's a very good question. Thray says, show them Jesus and his godhood. I read goodhood. His godhood, with the love that truly means for each of us. Not the prideful fallen people like that. I think that is exactly what we're supposed to do. And if nobody's doing that, I'm so sorry. Hey, no, Mac, what's going on, my guy? Thank you so much for that, Sherb. 32 months. Woo. So I look at all those things, and I mean, to go back and say, to kind of look at that question, or that the fact that the church is widely known for all the bad things and not the good that we do, and to ask why, it's because this is a psych class, right? At this point, if I do 1,000 good things for you, but I do one bad thing, not like, I do a kind of a bad thing. I do one thing that you feel is just absolutely egregious. That's the thing that you're going to remember. That's the thing that you're going to take into account. And now I have to do 1,000 more good things in order to make up for the bad thing that I did. End of story. Because that's how we work. That's how we work as human people. And I'm sorry about it. I'm not making allowance for it. I know that it is true in the world. I say this all the time, and hopefully you guys can, you all chat, not just the male fellers, but everybody can kind of take this and run with it. The things that have happened that have kind of skewed people's view of what church and Christianity is, though they may not be your fault, if you call yourself a follower of Jesus, if you are a Christian, if you're living a life that puts Jesus above everything, though it's not your fault, it is your problem. 100%. You can't get away from that. Don't try. Don't gaslight, right? Don't say, church isn't really like that. You're like, it was for me. Not your fault, but it is your problem. Meeting people right where they are means meeting them in their hurt. And so understanding why Hollywood would have, this bias towards Christian characters to make them into villains. It honestly could be as easy as this, friends. We talk about how tired that trope is. The whole thread here talks about how tired the trope is. Maybe to us it is. Not to them. It's a common enemy. It's an easy target. You want to talk about, representation matters. It really does. So people being able to see church hurt on the screen, that's cathartic for them. It fuels a fire and a passion that is negative in nature, but still they can kind of write themselves in the story and go, oh yeah, I know that guy. I know that guy. And so I think that for us, this is my personal opinion, I'm not trying to change everybody's perceptions. I just can't do that. But what I can do is I can affect my neighbors. I can affect the people that I come in contact with. And so I do. And that's not just, you win some, you lose some. That's not it. It's like, man, I want to win as many as I can. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, those tropes are tropes for a reason, right? Stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. It does not mean that everybody is like that, but it means that that has been the experience of some. And so, I'm sorry about that. I really am. Let's see what you guys had to say. All right. Save Point says, I think that there are a lot of reasons why. One is because of how publicly negative the church can be. But I also think that there's a fear that if people admit that Christians can be good, then they may take seriously the things that Christians say about Jesus. They may have to take seriously. I agree. Broken trust is hard to correct. We only manage by the grace of God as it is. Also accurate. Patrick follows up Save Point's point by saying, what is the biggest complaint about Christians that you hear from non-Christians? Saint Bear says, I deal with this all the time for work. The reality is that we live in the stories we tell ourselves. Or, in my words, perception is reality, which I stole anyway. So the church is not doing beautiful things, but is failing as storytellers. Ooh. The church is doing beautiful things, but failing as a storyteller. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot, actually. That's mine. I'm taking it. We need to do better at storytelling worthy of the story. And that means being intentional about everything that speaks, not just our mouths, but also our culture, our spaces, website, movies, etc. Ooh-wee. Ah, hey, Beer, what's going on? Glad to have you. First time raider chat. Did we get a raid? Did I miss a raid? I must have missed a raid. If I missed a raid, I apologize. I don't know why that didn't pop up for me. Oh, it's coming in. It's coming in here. Hey, Burridoo. Harry Burridoo. Hi, Burridoo. I can't say that name. How do you say, can you break it down? Explain to me like I'm 5. Hybrid. There we go. There we go. I love it. Well, hey, thank you for that raid. I appreciate that. Welcome in, Raiders. We're just, my name's Bubba. For those of you that don't know me, I'm CEO, founder of Love Thy Nerd. And you're in the office hours. And so what we do here is we sit down and I give you guys an opportunity, anybody who's here, to ask questions about Love Thy Nerd, which is a ministry that exists to be the love of Jesus to nerds and nerd culture. And we don't make it weird. Actually, we're trying to take all the weird out of it. That's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to make this as accessible as possible so that non-Christians can ask their questions and we can get to the bottom of things. And people who are Christians can ask their questions and we can get to the bottom of things, while also expressing during this time some of the things that we do here at Love Thy Nerd and where we're going. So thanks for coming in. Appreciate you guys. Okay. So right now, this is what we're going over. We're going over Rainn Wilson's tweet about his question of why is there such a bias in Hollywood about Christians. Currently where we're at is that it exists almost because it has to, right? Like it is art imitating life. These things exist in the world. Cults are real. Leadership abuse is real. Misinformation is real. Hurt is real. Church hurt is real. All these things are real. And so this is how they manifest. And what I just mentioned, maybe as you guys were coming in or just before, was that we shouldn't be surprised when stuff like this shows up, because even if the person that writes it is not a Christian hater, for lack of a better way to put it, it's important for us to see and understand that the church is an easy target. Christian leadership is an easy target for people to see that, latch on to, understand via representation, right? That maybe they don't identify with that leader, but they identify with as themselves or somebody who has been hurt by somebody in that position. So it's a way to engage the audience from the perspective of a writer. Low-hanging fruit sometimes. Okay. Scroll back up here. St. Bear said that we, the church, also have a history of doing two things. Well-intended Christians responding to unfamiliar things out of fear of creating false dichotomies, or Christians using the power of false dichotomy to galvanize groups. Both black, white language is more effective at rallying people to a cause than nuanced, real gray areas. Oh boy, so much to unpack in that. Holy jeez, so much to unpack in that. Okay, so throughout history, we're really good at doing two things. The first was well-intentioned Christians responding to unfamiliar things out of a fear of creating false dichotomies. Oh boy, stay in your lane, everybody. Look, come here. Stay in your lane. If you don't know about something, shut up. Don't talk about it. Unless the way that you talk about it is, hey, together we're going to explore this. When you come in as the foremost authority on a subject you know nothing about, all you do is make the situation worse. So please, for the love of all things that are good and holy, just stop. You're making it worse for me. You're making it worse for other organizations, other Christians. What you're doing is you're coming through and ruining something that you're trying to wield, right? I talked about this the other day as like, it's like when somebody power levels your character and then you come in and you're doing a raid, like an end game raid, and people are like, all right, well, you're a max level paladin, so we need you to do this, this, and this. And you're like, I need somebody to hold my hand. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. Where are my spells? And they're like, oh my gosh, dude, you're trash. Get out of here. And so it's important that we go on the journey together, that we go through every step of it, and that we take the time to learn the thing that we're trying to be good at. Just learn it for the love. Nobody cares that you got power level to pastor. No one cares. If anything, all it does is set you up for a very hard fall. Sorry. Or Christians using the power of false dichotomy to galvanize groups. This is the cult. This is the cult. I try really hard not to speak in superlative terms, these galvanizing terms, always and never, best and worst, good and bad. The reason I don't talk about those things is because, or try to use those as much as I possibly can. There's some where I can't. I just have to use it. Jesus says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. I didn't write that. So that's a galvanizing statement that I have to live in and find a way to speak in truth and love, right? But in everything else, Star Wars, if I don't like Star Wars, that doesn't have to be the thing that crucifies anything, right? It doesn't have to be the thing that shuts down conversation. If I don't like something, here's pro tip. If you don't like something, just ask a question. Hey, I'm not really a big Star Wars fan. Can you help me understand why that's one of your favorite franchises? Do you see how I'm saying the same thing? I don't like it. It ain't for me. But you're opening it up for conversation. Hey, I don't like it, but you do. Help me understand why you like it. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science here. Saint Bear says, honestly, love the approach of speaking truth after building the foundation of relationship and not the other way around. It's one of the biggest things that you've seen as being progress back in the right direction. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Save Point says, that one is more difficult. What did you ask? You asked a question. Oh, what's the biggest complaint about Christians you hear from non-Christians? Okay. The truth? Question mark. Nothing that would set us apart from any other person being labeled as hypocritical. Everyone at some point fails to live up to their own ideals. But I think that the fact that we follow a literally perfect God makes our shortcomings seem significantly more glaring. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hybrid says, you did notice this, but soon we'll see a Bible reading preacher that's loving and kind. Some of these movies and shows aren't always popular. So we did talk about some of those, and in the thread that I have here, there are a bunch of them that are listed. And I do like that they do talk about the flaws that these characters have, while at the same time emphasizing their faith. And I think that Shirley from Community was one of the best ones that I could see. Thray says that humility is hard. Absolutely. God's want to keep us. If you don't know something on the subject, Hybrid says, tell them and be honest that you don't know and get back to them when you do. Hey, that is actually legitimately one of the points that we have made before. If you don't know, your job is not to lie. Your job is not to talk around it until you reach the point of conclusion where somebody either gives up or accepts the things that you say, because we can perpetuate, when we do this, we can perpetuate the narratives that we have. And if our narrative is confusion, I mentioned Stephen in a story earlier when it was actually Peter. Hey, you know what? That was just I misremembered that. Thank you so much for correcting me. You were right. I was wrong. Sometimes it's that easy. You think that there are ways that Christians can better address the apparent shortcomings in ourselves, the body at large? I do. I absolutely do. Us versus the world. Not everyone should become teachers comes to mind. Ooh, that's a good one. That one's in the Bible. You're not a Christian if you like Star Wars more than Star Trek, or Star Trek more than Star Wars. Winky face. Let's see. All right. The reality though is that the nuanced conversations aren't as effective for rallying large groups because people are less to open their wallets. That's for sure. Easier to facilitate a state of emergency, sense of being at war, but it's a dangerous crutch. That's absolutely true. And it's terrifying. And I hate it. And like, legitimately speaking, it's happening in politics all the time. We're rolling up on an election year, so gird your loins, ladies and gentlemen. It's already started back. And so no matter of what, I honestly don't care what line you fall on, conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat, independent. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. But we just need to be ready for that stuff to kind of poke its ugly little head out again, and it's coming. Love Thy Nerd is never going to tell you how to vote. Why would we do that? So don't even ask. Man. Any familiar with the starfish story? There is a starfish in Finding Nemo. I know that if you, I'm not advocating this, but if you cut up a starfish, that an entire starfish will grow from the pieces of the starfish. I know that. It may not affect all, but it matters to that one. Is that the starfish story? Hey, Chrissy. Admitting that we are wrong. I've been playing way too much Marvel Snap because I read that as Wong. Totally omitted the R. Admitting that we are wrong and being willing to learn from our mistakes is so important that it matters with when the leadership does this. Yeah, absolutely. One of our pastors admitted just last week that he was guilty of teaching wrongly about slavery in the Bible a couple of years ago, and now he has spent time researching it. But him admitting that he was wrong meant so much. Oh, absolutely. We are all on a journey. Every single one of us are on a journey. And I think when we stop learning, all of us, Christian, non-Christian, pastor, doesn't matter. When we stop learning, you might as well hang it up. You might as well hang it up. Oh, Mr. Mrs. Stance. I'm sorry. I keep calling you. Hey, Lisa, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. There's so many. There are so many. So many of them. And I love them all the same. And this is the part that gets me in trouble is that I read like this much of a thing and then I let my brain do the thing that it does, which is all the wrong things. So Lisa, I apologize. Hey, it's good to have you in here. You've been here the whole time. Anna says that she knows what story you're talking about. Oh, that's great. I don't. What's the story? Anna, come here and just tell it to me. She's in the other room. You can bring Peach. That's fine. I can hear her listening to me out there. She'll be here in just a second. Oh, hold on. Her hair's not combed right now, so she doesn't want to. Yeah, she doesn't want to step in front of it. Hold on.
I have to do it on mic.
Oh, okay. So, a bunch of starfish wash up on a beach, and this little boy is out there. Like, this guy walks along this beach that's covered in starfish that are now dying on the beach, and sees this little boy like frantically throwing starfish back into the ocean, and he's like, "Kid, you have to stop. You're just never going to win this thing. Like, there's just too many. You cannot save them all." And he's like, "But I mean, like, what if you were that starfish?" You know, like, throws it back in because it matters to that starfish that it's back in the ocean. The end.
Now I know the starfish story. Is that the one you were thinking of? I like it. I think that is, if I'm being absolutely real, I like that. I like that a lot more than the house burning down analogy. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. I get all of it. I get it. Yeah. Do what you can do. Do what you can do. Don't let anybody else, don't let me, don't let anybody else influence you to do things that you cannot do. Right? The reason I'm a part of Love Thy Nerd, the reason we founded this organization, the reason I'm doing the other things that I'm doing in nerd culture space, in as much as it pertains to ministry, it's me chucking starfish. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to chuck more starfish, larger starfish. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to teach other people how to come and chuck starfish. But that's all I'm doing is I'm just doing the things that I can do. So. Steve, is that the one that you know? That starfish story? Literally, like, no joke, somebody told me the other day about the cutting up starfish. And it'll grow a whole new starfish. That was it. Okay, good. Good. Hey, I hope you guys got something out of that, man. That was fantastic.